So the way that I would define feminism, and this could be very wrong, and excuse my ignorance if it's wrong.
Feminism. So
It's definitely about equality. It's about uplifting. It's about unlearning a lot of the fucked up behaviors and a lot of the socialization that's gone on.
what feminism really looks like to me is recognizing my own privilege, then creating space, understanding that space has just been given to me. Even though I'm a black man, I still have privilege of being a man.
Feminism means to me today that men, aggressive men, take their abusive feet off of our necks because we're suffocating and we want to breathe.
Have I seen women go through inequality? I think every day.
Black women continue to be like the most disrespected human being like in the country. Like,
I genuinely believe that the scales are not even. Like, I don't care what anybody says, I don't care what the data is.
You're not going to experience the microaggressions that women and queer people and people of color experience on a daily basis.
Culture has, set up, has normalized this behavior of men being disassociated with their emotions.
As men, like we're ego-driven.
So much of masculinity I was learning from media that I was consuming, right? Not having a dad around, you search for father figures in any place that you can. And so, my behavior a lot of the time down to, the songs I was listening to or the movies that I was watching were shaped by that.
I remember feeling uncomfortable like in certain circles when I was in high school, just like kind of discussions that folk would have. Other dudes would have like kind of like locker room talk. I remember being young and I just wanted like times where I wanted to fit in and stuff where that was like,
for sure.
I had to kind of come to terms with that.
When I talk to my brothers and they're like, well, like Mother Earth, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a woman, I'm like, yo, that's still misogynist at the end of the day, because that's not a reason that a woman has value.
Oh, I love my mom. I would never do that to a woman. Just because you love this one woman who has given you everything and has been your caretaker doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna go out into the world and treat women with the respect that they deserve.
The closest is when I see a man have a daughter. That's when I really see a difference.
Being conscious is kind of social capital now, which is power. It's like these woke men are perpetuating patriarchy by getting social capital to get power.
To be manipulated.
To be manipulated.
Activists.
So it's like,
Men aren't comfortable with emotional expression.
it's not very common for guys to just be like super open like that.
I can't fake in front that I know everything when I don't.
I've seen change, more so even because I've changed myself with the whole vulnerability and everything.
Once I see that my vulnerability is actually a strength, then I feel like I can actually interact with the world in an honest way.
I went through depression. Like, mental health is real. And especially minorities, we don't take that as serious. My parents don't take it as serious. I went to therapy. I recommend everyone to go.
Specifically, men of color, like, there's components of that masculine energy that you don't wanna let down. There's aspects of not wanting to show any weakness on any level. That's again why this shit so, this deeply ingrained patriarchal behavior is that the strength actually comes from being emotional, sharing your shit, because everybody's going through it.
Being gay was like the most freeing thing that ever happened to me because you are no longer contained in that box of what it is to be masculine.
At like around 24, I'd already been living out as queer, 18 to 24, dating a black woman. I decided, I'm gonna try and be more along the lines of what I actually feel is me, and that was someone that was non-binary. I embraced my masculinity in myself, and now that I'm in a form that I feel really comfortable with, I can celebrate the feminine in me more than I was ever able to before.
I think as a gay black man, you really understand the importance of having allies and what that means for you.
I started identifying as trans masculine, a trans man in my family. I was told by alpha women, they told me that I wasn't gonna be a part of the women's movement anymore. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm gonna be at the front lines with all my other queer siblings and people of color, like we have been for every single revolution that's come before this. It's just that we're left out of the history books.
There's an amazing quote from
Maya Angelou, the goddess, that nothing works unless you do. And it's important to find great women and then be there for them.
The work that I'm trying to do right now, and especially implementing the ideas of breaking down the structures that have put us in this paradigm. The paradigm being pretty much white, heteronormative patriarchy.
For us to be the best allies, in my mind, we need to listen to ourselves and help men evolve.
You're not taking it serious. And one thing I like to see is for that trend to go down where we are taking it serious.
We have this persona or stipulation that men that are afraid to express how they feel questions a person's masculinity, but that's like the other way around. It actually makes a person more genuine and authentic.
There's usually some kind of like deep-rooted things that you probably just need to do, like a little therapy maybe, you know, maybe you need to do some meditating, maybe you need to do some exercise, maybe you need to find some like healthier way to cope with like things that you've been through, you know?
Cry. It's all right to cry.
Be emotional, you know, like be vulnerable with folks.
If you mad or you have an emotion, that's real to you. That's real. And if I laugh, then I'm saying, oh, it's not really real. But if I dig in and say, I don't really agree with you, but it's real, so let's deal with it.
Pay attention to your language, checking people's language and the way that you talk about your emotions, the way that you talk about women.
Being intentional, taking responsibility.
We need to come together in our communities and have real conversations of how to heal the issues that we're dealing with before we go out and say it's everybody else's.
My day-to-day behaviors, all this stuff is in some way affecting, shaping the way that these women view men, vice versa. I have a responsibility to be mindful of that.
I think the hardest part really is calling other men out.
All the time, yeah.
Just having more folks that you could be like, yo, that's toxic, yo, that's f***ed up, don't do that, you know?
Something as like being the leader of my business, I like to really showcase how we should respect the women around us. You know, I have a lot of young guys that are like 22 and 24, and just talking to them about their relationships with women, whether it be their girlfriends or people they're dating, and it's just like, when we're in the space, like having genuine conversations and being like, hey, like, it's not right to treat women like that, or it's not right to talk like that.
As men, we need to shut up sometimes. It's not always our place, even if we have a thought, in boardrooms especially, in a studio environment, in music.
This work that we're doing is generational.
And I'll listen, and sometimes that's all people need is just someone to listen to them and understand that they're not alone and that they have people on their side.
We talk about people checking their white privilege, like check your male privilege for a second, because it's showing very often.
There's 5 guys and one woman identified person in our group. At every show that we have at a bar or a venue, we make it a point to, in the middle of our set, say that consent is the word of the day. And it's a man that says it, not, you know, we don't need Julia to say that because that's not her job. It's for men to hold ourselves accountable.
I think that the way that I kind of exercise feminism is to really move in silence, build platforms for women to tell the stories that they want to tell.
I think you gotta put yourself in a woman's shoes, man.
Black trans women and trans women in general, trans feminine individuals, non-binary people who fit within this whole idea of feminism are welcome.
Asking pronouns, even if they are a cisgendered person, just creating that space and normalizing that.
Putting women in the forefront, giving women credit for all the work that they do and that they have done.
Letting people know that they're valuable and like not trying to holler.
You know, a woman shouldn't be, you know, she shouldn't be downplayed for being loud and outspoken.
One of the first ways that I've been trying to be better is hiring women, specifically Black women.
Women's History Month this year, for me, and the thing I'm gonna do is find 5, I just like the number 5 women-owned businesses and put your time and energy against those things to build those businesses.
Like there's a lyric in a song that I have. I say, learning how to treat our women before we have daughters. You know, treat her like she's water, treat her like she's vital, treat her like she's honor, treat her like she's golden, treat her like she's ours, treat her like she's power, treat her like she's color, treat her like she's ours.